Hello, everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful day. I recently had the great displeasure of watching the fan made film Spider Man Lotus, and it is now my least favorite slash most hated movie of all time, joining the ranks of films such as This Is the End, Avatar The Last Airbender, Child's Play 2019, and Venom Let There Be Carnage. A common trait that most of these movies share is that they are adaptations of other works that I think spit in the face of the art they are adapting. The exception to this rule is This Is the End, a film that I believe is simply fundamentally terrible. Spider Man Lotus does both of these things, but today I'm only going to be talking about its failure at a fundamental level. I'll be talking about its failure as an adaptation in a separate video. Spider Man Lotus's most apparent and pervasive flaw is its seeming inability to show instead of tell. Movies, being a largely visual medium, should show the important elements and events of their stories rather than relay them through dialogue. Doing so makes the film more engaging and, pardon the language, immersive. Spider-Man Lotus doesn't seem to understand this concept. Every opportunity the movie has to show us an important characterization or moment, it instead chooses to tell us through dialogue. Dialogue that, in my opinion, is clunky and poorly delivered, might I add. This film's plot centers on Peter Parker's internal struggle with whether or not he should continue being Spider-Man after the death of Gwen Stacy, and his meeting with a terminally ill child. Gwen Stacy's death is a major part of Spider-Man's history as a character, and it's been depicted in a couple of other Spider-Man film adaptations, including The Amazing Spider-Man 2 and in Across the Spider-Verse as a canon event. However, Gwen Stacy's death, the inciting incident for the entire conflict of the movie, is not shown once in Spider-Man Lotus. We see disconnected flashbacks and or visions surrounding Gwen's death, but never the event itself. That is absolutely absurd to me. I could almost understand it if they didn't want to rehash story beats that even the most casual viewers have seen and are familiar with, but they do decide to show the confrontation between Spider-Man and Uncle Ben's killer, so that argument has little to no weight behind it. That is the most familiar event and probably iconic event in Spider-Man's history. So if they're going to show that, they should probably show the most important event in regards to the film. Unfortunately, Gwen's death isn't the only thing the film conveys using dialogue and only dialogue. They also do that with the characterization of nearly all major characters. Peter is a prick throughout a large majority of Spider-Man Lotus's runtime. He is rude and dismissive toward the people he allegedly cares about, especially toward Mary Jane. In one scene of the movie, Peter berates MJ for being a self-centered attention seeker, two traits that are not once demonstrated in the film. In a very generous read of this movie, I'd say that Peter only lashed out like this because he's going through a difficult time. But despite what Flash Thompson, of all people, would have you believe, Peter is a jackass in this movie. The positive qualities projected onto him are never shown, and neither are the negative qualities he projects onto the supporting characters. As far as I know, Peter was just gaslighting Mary Jane. I have no reason to believe she acted the way he claimed. She is probably the kindest character in the entire movie. So, again, putting those qualities onto her seems strange and out of left field. The other half of this movie, Spider-Man's meeting with the terminally ill child, Tim, fares no better. To throw the movie a bone, the set design does help show Timothy is a fan of Spider-Man through all of his, memorabilia, but you can't see it through Maxwell Fox Andrews' performance as Tim. Tim doesn't feel like a massive fan of Spider-Man. You only feel his enthusiasm through the set dressing and an exposition dump from Tim's mother. Ultimately, Tim's able to convince Spider-Man to keep fighting by talking about the thousands of people he saved, not one of which is shown to the audience. The only full action sequence in the movie takes place in an empty area, and Spider-Man doesn't save a single person in the entire action sequence. In fact, he uses one of Shocker's goons as meat shields for a lot of the fight. So sadly, that fight is still one of the best scenes of the movie. What's truly terrible about all of this is how it leads you to believe Peter really should stop being Spider-Man. He pushes his loved ones away, saves nobody, in fact hurts quite a few people. And there's a non-zero chance he straight up murdered Gwen Stacy, given the information we're shown. Anyway, that's all I've got to say on the show don't tell front. But I have plenty more to say in the next video, where I'll probably be talking about, as I said, how it fares as an adaptation. So goodbye and Godspeed.